Musings of Genius with David Amram, Corky Siegel. Welcome. This is Life's Dream number 34. Life's Dream, Life's Dream, Life's Dream. You're in for a really great time today. Let's see what Corky is up to.
You've never been like this before. There's something wrong between us, babe. You've never been like this before. Please tell me what is on your mind. Why do you treat me so? Oh, why do you treat me so, babe? Say sweet things about me, now you just put me down. You used to say sweet things about me, now you just put me down. Why do I turn you off? Why can't I turn you off? Why can't I turn you on? Well, I just can't help but feel those vibrations. I just can't help but feel a lack of communication. Something wrong between us, baby. Why can't things be like they usually be? Well, I can't imagine why you've been so mean to me. this before. There's something wrong between us, babe. You never feel like this before. Please tell me what is on your mind. Why do you treat me so? Why do you treat me so? You used to say sweet things about me. Now you just put me down. You used to say sweet things about me. Now you just put me down. Why do I turn you off? Why can't I turn you off? Why can't I turn you off? Well, I just can't help but feel those vibrations. I just can't help but feel a lack of communication. Something wrong between the pain. Why can't they be like they used to be? Well, I can't imagine why you've been so mean to me.
All right. A lot of coffee this morning. A lot of coffee.
We put that one together. In little pieces.
And that's available on which Siegel Schwall album?
It's available on one of the Siegel Schwall albums.
There you go.
I have no idea which one. I think Sleepy Hollow.
But it's available. It's available.
Let's see.
It's available in corkymusic.com/shop. So
No. Yes. Here it is.
That's the one. Available. All right. Guess what time it is?
Story time.
That's right. Whoa, going in slow motion.
Follow.
Walk this way. Walk this way.
We're going to do something first.
Well, you're going to.
Oh, we're going to show this.
Sure, we can do this
We're gonna
first.
show this.
So this is David Amram.
Well, that isn't.
Special guest with Dizzy Gillespie.
So just a little taste, because we're going to talk more about David Amram today, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But just listen to this. It's not a very good quality, but you'll get the idea, I think.
Well, I think you will.
I think you will.
Awake yet?
Good morning. So we featured David Amram as a guest a few streams ago. So let me give you some biomaterial on Dave. 1951, he was 20 years old. He was playing French horn in the National Symphony Orchestra. In 1955, he played jazz French horn with Charles Mingus, Dizzy Gillespie, Lionel Hampton, Oscar Pettiford. He was a founding father of the Beat generation, a friend of Allen Ginsberg and Jack Kerouac and Lawrence Ferlinghetti. You know, I may as well show the photo there.
Sure. This is
Yeah.
this is the gang.
There's Allen Ginsberg, David Amram. There he is, Jack Kerouac. Okay, you could come back here. Just keep things in context here. So he created and performed the first ever jazz poetry readings in New York City with Jack Kerouac. They collaborated for 12 years. He wrote the music for the film Pull My Daisy about him and Kerouac. He was the best rapper in the world up until rap was created. And he exploded out from the top of his head poetry and songs based on what was happening in the room at the time in the most detailed, intellectual, spontaneous, fun way you could imagine. And I have a sample of this that's going to come up at the end of the Zoom. But
No, at the end of this.
what?
Not at the Zoom, but of the stream.
Well, both. Yeah. Okay. Our first argument. Okay. So, since the early 1950s, he's traveled the world extensively, working as a musician and conductor in over 35 countries, including Cuba, Kenya, Egypt, Pakistan, Israel, Latvia, China. He also regularly crosses the United States and Canada. By the way, he conducted my symphonic work called Blues for a Green Planet that I wrote for the Grand Park Symphony, and he conducted it at the Grand Park Symphony. I actually wrote a part in it so he could solo on his multiple tin whistles and flutes. He composes scores for many films, including Splendor in the Grass, Manchurian Candidate. He composes scores for Joseph Papp's Shakespeare in the Park, premiered his comic opera with Papp's libretto. He also wrote a second opera, The Final Ingredient, an opera about the Holocaust, which he did for ABC television in 1965. From 64 to 66, Amram was the composer and music director for Lincoln Center Theater, wrote the score for Arthur Miller's plays After the Fall and Incident at Vichy. From 64, well, actually, no, then he was appointed by Leonard Bernstein as first composer in residence for the New York Philharmonic.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And now he's one of the most performed and influential composers of our time. He had works commissioned by Woody Guthrie Foundation and flutist Sir James Galloway. He has collaborated as composer with Elia Kazan, Arthur Miller, Eugene Ormandy, Sir James Galloway, Langston Hughes, Jacques de Amboise. I don't know how to pronounce it. Je ne parle pas français. Thelonious Monk, Johnny Depp, Hunter S. Thompson, Dizzy Gillespie, Odetta, Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, Betty Carter, Floyd Red Crow Waterman, Arlo Guthrie, Pete Seeger, Paquito de Rivera, Tito Puente, Jerry F. Walker, and his roommate, was Charlie Parker. And I won't even mention Steve Goodman and a raft of others. You can find his writings in the New York Public Library, and he was a subject of prize-winning full-length feature documentary, David Amram, The First 80 Years. And now his last book is coming out, The Next 80 Years. And he'll be celebrating his 90th birthday in November. He collaborates with Willie Nelson every year to help support the Farm Aid, American family farmers, through music. And last year he conducted his own piece at Carnegie Hall. Like the rest of us, he had plans. He was planning to celebrate his 90th birthday all over the country, doing an immense amount of performing of his own pieces and conducting other pieces, just all kinds of stuff. In 1 month, he was going to do all this. In addition, and here's the last line of his bio. In addition to writing new music, he continues to perform around the world as guest conductor, soloist, multi-instrumentalist, band leader at jazz, folk, and classical festivals, and he narrates them in 5 languages. Oh my gosh. So here's other photos. So you saw this one. You saw that with, again, Ginsberg, Amram, Kerouac. Here's a shot of him in Bernstein. And this is, I'm going to read these names. From your left, Muhammad Ali, Buffy St. Marie, Floyd Red Crow Waterman, Harold Smith, Stevie Wonder, Marlon Brando, Max Gail, Dick Gregory, Richie Havens, and David Amram. So there you go. Okay. So now, since we've done that, okay, we're about to play this video. Let me get it ready. Okay, you could show this. So first of all, I want you to let you know that Holly and I, as you have known that have been watching our streams, we've did some amazing stories about little Richard visiting Holly's in her apartment for a week, her staying for 2 weeks with Tennessee Williams, me touring with Bob Hope, and George Carlin and her writing a book for George Carlin. But none of them were here to Zoom with us. And now we have David Amram, and he's here. So now we just lay back and receive the gentle beauty of our own magic maestro, captured in time at the beginning of his 90 years, his next 90 years, as he invites all of us to New York State, the East Coast, Westchester County, into his room and inside his head. Nice.
Yeah, I thought, for example, I could show one thing. When I was in the Middle East and I heard playing an F sharp and a G, F sharp, the half tone, but then the quarter tone is between. And I a flute player started not on this one or this one, but this one. I played a perfect major scale. How in the heck could he do that?
Okay, this needs a little bit of explanation. Come over here to the piano. Over to the piano. So, all the way over. Show the keys. Show the keys. Okay, so he's talking about, here's the F sharp, and here's the G. He's talking about this fellow is playing in between the two. Not only is he playing in between the two, but he's starting a scale. So he has to play this note, 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 and back. Like, unbelievable.
Impossible.
Unbelievable. It's not impossible because no one can do it. But this is when he was younger, and this guy. So here's the story. So, okay, now you know what he's talking about.
How in the heck could he do that? And he said, very simple. And I said, boy, I'm going to get the incredible guru. You too can be a wizard in 30 seconds. The quick, American quick inside way to be fabulous without worrying about it. He said, it's so simple. And I said, oh, please, what's the secret? And he said, you practice. And I always remembered that because we're, just a little something. And then I have another instrument, because I know you're not asking Mr. Rogers gets down with the world music, but just I was thinking that might be fun. I mean, the most fun is playing with you, Alan. I always enjoyed that. From the very first time we did with Steve Goodman and all that crazy stuff we did, but and you see a lot of the other people in the ancient Greek tragedies, you see that this stuff has been going on for a long time. And we're at a point now, including the wonderful technology that we have, where we can educate and learn to respect and understand other people. James Baldwin had an amazing statement that he made. This is James Baldwin speaking for his people, said, we know all about you, and you know nothing about us. Malcolm X said, white is a state of mind. And when Sonny Rollins spoke about the golden rule, he mentioned that was in every religion. And we have some wonderful people of the Caucasian persuasion who are just great and who are terrific and who have learned to overcome or get a pretty good cure or start of the cure of the mental illness known as racism. So people have said to me, you have a very multifaceted career writing symphonies and movie scores and playing in bar rooms and prisons and playing with folk and jazz musicians and this and that. I said, well, I never wanted to have a career. I said, I hoped and still hope someday my music will have a career, because that's what we're here for. And that's why I love playing with you. From the time we played with Steve Goodman at the Earl of Old Town way back, that was over 40 years ago. And the last time we played together in Long Island, you were with Nick Gravenitis, am I saying his name right? a guy I always wanted, and you all was so wonderful. We were just in that little dinky place in upstate New York on Labor Day weekend, and you made that little joint big time, and that's what music, real music, and real musicians do every time. When I played with Charles Mingus in 1955, and the owner, or not the owner, the manager of the place would leap from behind the bar and beat up the customers if he didn't like their attitude. He was not what you would call a great humanitarian. He made it difficult, but at the same time, as raunchy as the place was, it was like a temple of the arts. And Mingus said, man, he said, no matter how ratty the joint, I remember I wrote that down, no matter how ratty the joint, every night with me is Carnegie Hall. And I realized when we stepped up on that bandstand with one microphone that didn't work half the time, an out-of-tune piano, and a handful of stoned out people that were ready to drop dead, and we were playing all night long. It was some transcendental experience, and the music he was making was so beautiful. And that's what it was about, and that's what it's always about. And when I conducted at Carnegie Hall, which was a big thrill, about a year and a half ago, my elegy for violin and orchestra with the great Elmira Davarodova playing the violin solo, it was such a thrill. And someone said, weren't you nervous? I said, man, that was easy compared to playing at Attica Prison or playing on a street rally or playing in a bar. I said, this was easy because everything was perfect conditions. So our job in music is to do better than is expected, to make every night Carnegie Hall and to make everyone else feel welcome and make the musicians feel inspired to do better than they would do. And I see a lot of your videos, you have those young people playing with you and they're enjoying it, not because they're playing with Corky Siegel, but because they're playing with you, which is Corky Siegel, not the image of someone that did something at one time or could do something. It was more than that. Whatever it was, they got past that because you're the real deal. And everyone's the real deal until they're talked out of it.
I just want to hold it there for a minute. And then David's going to go into, I believe, let me just double check. Let's see. Yes, he's going to go into, oh, hi, everyone. So I just wanted everyone to hear just a little sample of David just improvising off the top of his head. Now, when he did it with me and Nick in New York, he was playing the piano and singing and talking about everything that was going on in the room. It was, I've never heard anything like it. I've heard some things like it. And a lot of the rappers today do really great stuff like that. But honestly, no one like David, and he uses these intellectual words. Anyway, this is just a little sample of him doing this.
Well, here we are in Boulder, Colorado in the year 2015 on such a beautiful night. And while the rest of the country may have snow and ice, here the sun and the stars are shining bright. And the E-Town light that is spreading right here at the moment and always on the air is something that shows that music and poetry and art is something that all of us can share. Now, Nick Foster, when I met him back in 1980, he was playing with Hot Rize in the middle of the night. I never dreamed that all these years later, we'd be here having so much fun and getting everything right. So I can only say thank you to the great jam session creator in the sky for making it possible today to be here and do things in that very, very, very special E-Town way, where what comes before and what comes after is determined by celebrating the magic of now at the moment right here. And that whatever you do, wherever you've been, we have to spread and share a little good cheer. So without further ado for all of you, since I don't want the introduction to be too long and tire out everybody before they even get a chance to listen to what was the original song, I can only say that really doing this doesn't mean that I'm certifiably crazy. I'm just inspired by E-Town and Boulder, Colorado in this special version of Pull My Daisy. I tip my cup, all my doors are open.
Oh, wait. Do you see that? Those aren't credits for that piece. Those are all the symphonic operas and chamber music pieces that he wrote. A few tunes. Unbelievable. And then I met him with Steve Goodman. We were doing the record live at the Earl of Old Town. Jim Tullio, Bonnie Kolak, David Amram, Howard Levy, and all these people gathered and performed, and it's on record. And he also played a lot with Willie Nelson, and every year he collaborated with Willie in the Farm Aid. He's done everything, you know, and of course played with Dizzy Gillespie, and his roommate was Charlie Parker. So an earlier stream with David, you could check up on it on YouTube, talks about it. And then also I want to add that Jacqueline Dixon, right around that same time, said, Corky, please talk about some politics in the current events. Always, you know, do a little of that. And so I've been trying to do a little of that. This time I'm going to have David speak for me. He sent me a personal email, and I'm just going to read a teeny bit of it. Okay? So this is first thing he says. This is David Amram. After 400 years of acute racism, the knuckleheads in charge of the store have discovered that we finally have to learn a little bit about our history and all find a way to come together, which is what all of us musicians spend every day of our lives learning how to do. This wake-up call gives a new generation something to see clearly, and I pray that we all can join together, cleaning up the mess of the last 4 years, and I believe we'll do it. Okay, and then I'm going to jump to another subject, because when David writes an email, he's a poet, he's a philosopher. It's not going to be a one-page email. So this is another small section. This last March 8th, just before Cyrus the Virus came on the scene, I did a concert in Saratoga Springs where the orchestra played my Greenwich Village portraits for alto saxophone and string orchestra. And by the way, I played with the Philadelphia Orchestra at the Saratoga Springs, right, Holly?
That's right. That was, you were guest soloist with the Philadelphia Orchestra at their summer location. It was their version of Ravinia, so yes,
wow,
it is.
I'm impressed.
I'm impressed.
I'm impressed. Okay. So he did that. That was March 8th. And then next morning, Monday, March 9th, this is him speaking in my email. He says, I called my manager, Doug Yeager, to tell him about the saxophonist Ken Radnofsky, about his wonderful playing, and I wanted to talk about the great stuff scheduled for the upcoming year. I told Doug that since Ken lives in Boston area and has performed my music for years at the New England Conservatory, and with all my friends at Berkeley and the Kerouac Festival in Lowell, we could add even more events. Remember, he's 90 years old, okay? More events.
Let me just interject. Still sounds like he does on that flute, I think probably better than when he was younger. So there you go.
David was better, yeah. So he says, the Kerouac Festival in Lowell, we could add even more events to all the great things planned this December in Boston, where I was scheduled for a residency at Harvard, where they plan to perform the world premiere of Global Suite for Wild Orchestra, which they commissioned. That's him speaking. I shouldn't speak like that. So Doug listened patiently as I continued my rant, and he finally spoke. David, turn on the news. I think what's happening with this virus mess is much more serious than what we've been told to expect. We might be in the deep freeze for a long time. Everything we have planned will probably have to be postponed, and hopefully we'll be able to have most of it rescheduled. I don't recall anything ever being like this before, David. Our whole world will be changed forever. Okay, now on a little slightly lighter note. This was David's, one of his other paragraphs, and we'll sign off on this. David says, since I couldn't ever get a MacArthur grant...
Hard to believe.
Yeah. Since I couldn't ever get a MacArthur grant, which would have enabled me to sit at home and compose music day and night, I now am the recipient of the highly coveted Cyrus the Virus Composer's Grant. Cyrus the Virus Composer's Grant. And now I can sit at home and write music day and night. And I didn't even need to apply for this. And then he signs off, David, promising young composer. So we'll give David the final word here again.
Okay, let me get back over in position. This was a video that David made for his children, and to give them a bit of encouragement and words of wisdom. So we'll just all take it in as one of the kids.
Right up.
In this difficult, distressing time, we just have to keep on celebrating every precious second of being alive. Call up your old friends, call up people that you care about, call up your parents and grandparents, and or if you got kids or grandkids, give them a call. And remember that life is precious. And Charlie Parker said, now's the time. Meaning the sanctity of life is every minute that we're here. So we all have to think about that, hang in there, get back to those good habits that we wanted to have of washing our hands every day, brushing our teeth, thinking positive thoughts, and not being creepy to people because you might not see them again for a while. And if they remember only your creepiness, that's not much of a legacy to leave either. So, as they say in the vernacular of my youth, you gots to be cool. So, as distressing as everything is, ever since Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, the rents have been too high, men and women have been struggling with each other, and everybody gets sick once in a while. So just celebrate life, and we'll come out of this better and stronger and more together than ever.
Okay. So the importance of this is that David Amram is still here, still spreading his joy and his wisdom, and he will be considered in history a major moment in the history of humanity, just like other greats. And therefore, we feel compelled to take this moment to share David with you guys. Now, in case you didn't hear all the things he said there, I'm going to just repeat some of the highlights for you. He said, in this difficult, distressing time, we need to keep celebrating every precious second of being alive. Remember that life is precious. And Charlie Parker said, now is the time to honor the sanctity of every life, every minute that we're here. And then he said, and not be a creep to people because you might not see them for a while. If they remember only your creepiness, that's not much of a legacy to leave either. And so, as they say in the vernacular of my youth, you gots to be cool.